Your vision is our vision. Colecovision.
Hey folks, Crazy Climber 80 here again. And this time we're going to look at game number 11 in our 20 from the Colecovision series. And this was an arcade release that was really cool by Sega. It was a 3/4 perspective 3D space shooter, and this is Zaxxon. This was a huge smash hit for Sega in 1982, and this Colecovision port was later in 1982. This was a huge hit for the Colecovision because they successfully captured the isometric 3D or a 3/4 perspective look of the arcade game. I was never good at the arcade game. I got a lot better with the Colecovision port. What you do is you fly through space fortresses and shoot enemies, shoot various fuel tanks that will replenish your fuel supply, and there will be a certain robot that you want to face and hopefully destroy because he's worth some nice bonus points. And we're going to get started with skill level number 1. And yeah, you have to get used to the controls. To fly straight downwards, you move forward on the joystick. To move straight upwards, you pull back. Or to fly straight up, you pull back on the joystick, and to dive down, you press forward, and you press kind of left or right to move your ship left or right. And as you start in the fortress, you'll want to blast those fuel canisters, but I am on the easiest skill level, and this does not make your fuel dwindle hardly at all. So you don't really need to worry about that unless you choose a higher skill level. And there will be these little cannons that will fire missiles up at you, or they might fire missiles straight across at you. You can slam into a wall just trying to enter the fortress and lose a life. You just have to get used to it. How to clear the walls. And after going through the space fortress, then you will face enemies in space. And note that when you pull up or pull down, there is an altimeter on the left, and it shows how high up you are or how low you are. And you'll need to adjust that if you want to hit some of the enemies in space. Slamming into anything or colliding with an enemy or being shot with an enemy is fatal. You'll lose a ship. Now here I am barely above the ground. You can't slam into the ground, don't worry about that. But eventually you'll come face to face with the robot boss. As far as I can tell, he is almost impossible to kill. He has a little weak spot on him, but it's very hard to hit it just right. And you want to do it as soon as possible. Otherwise he has like these ships on his shoulder or something. And you can blast those, but your main goal is to hit the weak spot. And here he is. And you see a little flashing area on him. And that's what you want to hit, and you hardly have any time to do it. And he shoots at you, and you gotta watch out for his shots. And see, now we've got a smaller area for me to fly through. If you play on one of the higher skill levels, you'll have smaller areas to fly through at the beginning, and you'll have more tenacious, more often shooting enemies. And your fuel supply will dwindle much quicker. Note that there are missiles that shoot out of the ground, and you can shoot those missiles just as they appear, and you'll see a little flashing indicator to show that they're about to launch. But again, your fuel supply does not dwindle much in the easy setting. Sometimes a homing missile will appear and come after you during the fortress sequences, and you'll need to shoot it a lot. Well, not a lot. Probably about 3 shots will bring it down. But on the higher skill levels, you might need to shoot it more often. And the robot boss will fire a missile at you, and you'll need to shoot that like 3 times or so. You can shoot a lot of shots at once. And at this particular point in the space shooting sequence, you can shoot the enemies just as they get close to you, but then you'll want to move out of the way because they'll fire a laser at you. Now that one little white spot that flashes on the fortress wall, I was thinking maybe it means that it can be broken by your shots. It cannot, as far as I know. I've tried and it doesn't work. But yeah, I remember the first place that I saw Zaxxon, the arcade game, was at was at an arcade in Tigard, Oregon called what was it? Astrocade. This was in a strip mall called Canterbury Square, and that is still there, but the arcade was long gone by the mid '80s. But that was the first place I saw Zaxxon. Zaxxon was licensed to it was either Gremlin Sega or Sega Gremlin, but it was really Sega's game. And this is an excellent port. The scrolling is a little teeny bit choppy compared to the arcade, but it's not that much of a difference. There's that homing missile again. There was a sequel called Super Zaxxon, but there was not a port for the Colecovision. If you play one of the highest skill settings, the speed will almost be like Super Zaxxon. Super Zaxxon was too damn hard. I didn't fly quite high enough. There's like a sort of shield that if you just clear that lower part of the wall, then you will miss colliding with the shield. There we go. But yeah, trying to destroy that robot is almost impossible. I did do it once during this gameplay, and it is worth robot boss is like worth 5,000, I think, something like that. I hope you're able to stay safe during the pandemic. Whoops. I work at a hospital. We did not used to have to wear our mask every single place where we worked in the hospital, but we do now. It kind of sucks because it just gets so hot on your face having to wear it all day, but oh well. Oh yeah, these guys can shoot to the left and right, so you gotta watch out for that. Yeah, the robot boss looked a little different and was different to have to deal with in the arcade. And he was easier to destroy because you just had to shoot his arm where the homing missile would fire from. And if you fired the homing missile, then you weren't going to be able to kill him. You had to shoot his arm first before the missile could launch. And then, again, Super Zaxxon was much harder than Zaxxon, which was already hard. The speed was ridiculous. I think I might have played it once, and I just gave up. I was like, oh my god, this is too hard. I might have played it once in the arcade. But Yeah, it's too damn hard. And the robot boss is replaced with a kind of cartoony-looking dragon. I am hoping that the coronavirus is mostly over with by the end of the summer. We'll see what happens. But my future roommate works at the hospital with me, and he's having to work some long hours, and he's kind of hoping that once the pandemic slows down a good deal, then he can start moving some stuff in. I would appreciate having a roommate around, because my dog needs to be walked more often than she is. She just needs to have another person around. And we're just about to face another robot boss. Yeah, the 3D isometric 3/4 viewpoint was brand spanking new for arcades at this time when Zaxxon came out. It was quite revolutionary. And the Colecovision captured it quite well. Here's that robot boss again. I shot his top off. But yeah, if you can destroy him, he's worth, I think it was 5,000 points. Yeah, those green fuel canisters, you'll definitely want to shoot them when you choose a harder difficulty level. And those missiles, those homing missiles, are harder to destroy on the higher skill levels. They take more shots, I think, to destroy. You might be able to fly underneath or low where the homing missiles cannot quite reach you. But yeah, there will be a point in the space sequence where you shoot the enemies, where they'll try to line their flight pattern up with you, and then you just keep shooting and you'll be able to hit them, but you'll need to get the hell out of the way at the last second because they'll shoot a laser at you right here. Yeah, I did not really know what to do or know how to steer my ship when I first played Zaxxon. I kept running into the fortress wall. I was just like, what? Well, here's another. Here's me destroying the robot. Nope, not this time. But yeah, I was really blown away by how well they. It's hard to land and be able to take out those first two fuel canisters right there, but I managed to do it there. Yeah, I was really blown away by how awesome the isometric 3/4 perspective 3D graphics or gameplay was done for the Colecovision. They really did a great job. Scrolling is a bit choppy, but it's really not that big a complaint. If you remember seeing Zaxxon back in the day, where did you first see it? What arcade or store or laundromat or where else? Some other places that might have had games, restaurants, pizza places. I remember a number of pizza places back in the day having some nice mini arcades. I would get done with basketball practice, and sometimes my teammates and I would have a pizza party, go to a pizza restaurant and play some games. Well, a lot of people wish they could be a kid all over again. Yeah, there's some things I find about being adult that are pretty okay. Don't have to get up early to go to school or even to go to work. That's okay by me. I was never a fan of school. Never particularly great at it. I had some moments where I could do pretty well at school, but I had to give a crap, and that didn't really happen too often. But yeah, a number of Sega games were credited to Gremlin Sega or Sega Gremlin in the early 80s. And this was one of them. It's had kind of an interesting shape to its cabinet. Now, that is my game of Zaxxon. We will take a brief look at scenes from some of the higher skill levels that you can choose from, just to show you how much faster it is, how much more tough the enemies might be, the speed, and how quickly the fuel supply will diminish. But yeah, I remember this, like I said, at an arcade called Astrocade. The first time I saw it, and the arcade did not last very long. It was a very, very small arcade. Yeah, look how much faster it is here. And yeah, your fuel diminishes very quickly. Well, that was Zaxxon by Sega, the original one in 1982, and the Colecovision version was in 1982 by Coleco Industries Incorporated. Well, this is Crazy Clown Radius, and thanks for watching Zaxxon for the Colecovision. Game number 11, and I will see you soon with game number 10. Have a good one, everybody. Bye-bye.